This is my continuous kombucha corner. Over here, I put old wine and old bottles of wine that, didn't last overnight or, I'd opened up and didn't like. And right now it's kind of low, but it converts to wine vinegar. But I started it off with my Kombucha Scoby, some wine vinegar itself, and some apple cider vinegar, homemade apple cider vinegar. So it has quite a few starters, and that wine vinegar is pretty good. That's a continuous one. That's why there is a spout. Over here is the kombucha continuous brew, but I have neglected it for about a month now because I had so much kombucha in the refrigerator, I just didn't make any. And what happens normally, it's a really thin line, but it continues to ferment and make scobies. That's what those are. So today, I am going to clean out my Scoby garage and make a new batch of kombucha. Come join me. Okay, so I've pulled out my, what I normally call my continuous kombucha container. And the cover is always a coffee filter with a rubber band. Now you can buy these are, it's like a drink dispenser. Now this is like possibly a gallon. And as I said in the preliminary, I just let it go for a while because I wasn't making kombucha. So right now this is considered a Scoby garage because it continued to brew and it continued to create Scobies. So I've got a rubber tipped butt. So this is the latest ones that were created on the bottom. The ones at the top are the oldest. And right now, in here, I have kombucha vinegar. Yes, kombucha vinegar. Okay. My other SD card kind of died on me, so I'm starting all over here with this little bit. So I was talking about kombucha vinegar. So that's what's in here, but I'm going to use it as a starter for my new kombucha. But in the meantime, and there's a lot. And I use the vinegar. Okay. It's going to just about fill up the pan. Alright. So I use the vinegar in cooking. I use it, so I guess I need to do a video using the kombucha vinegar. Or I use it to make salad dressing. And it smells, to me it's almost like apple cider vinegar in a sense, because it smells just like that. It has a really tangy taste. So I'll do a video a little later about using the kombucha vinegar. But right now, I'm going to put this aside because I need to clean this guy out. And I'm going to make hot soapy water. That's why I'm near the sink. But I'm going to rinse this out because it's got sediment at the bottom. Got to turn the light on. And it's pretty, kind of been sitting on the shelf for a while. Turn that off. Alright, so I'm going to put a little bit of soap in there. I'm going to add a little bleach. And then I am going to clean this guy with hot water. So I've got to let the water run a little bit before I get the hot water. But I'm going to wash this out, get it all soaked up and clean. And then I'm going to show you how I'm making the tea that I'm going to use to put in here. But this is basically reviving my kombucha continuous brew. And it's the fall, so it will take it longer to brew because it's not as warm. In the summertime, when I make kombucha, within a week, it's ready to rebottle a second time with the different flavors. So let me get this all washed up, and in the meantime, let's go to making the tea.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and make the tea. So I have a pot. I use distilled water. And usually I put in about 3/4 of a gallon. I use distilled water because, you know, city water, I mean, I still filter my city water, but city water has, you know, minerals and contaminants, and even though it gets filtered, it may not take all of it out. Alright, so this is almost, let's see, what's the measuring thing say? I know there's a measuring thing on here somewhere. Alright, it's saying it's like 14 cups. Okay, it's about 14 cups. So I'm going to turn this on medium high so that it can start to boil. Now you can use black tea. A lot of people just use black tea. Some people use green tea for their kombucha. I like mine pretty strong when I do it. So this is, I put it in a plastic bag and in my container to store it. But this is Assam tea. It is, let me see if I can get this here to you. It is really small. I get it at my Indian, as in India, grocery store. They have all kinds of teas. But this one is the one I buy, and yeah, I bought at least a pound. It's not, let me say, it wasn't expensive. So, yeah, you can see me putting this in. So I got, this is a big, one of those big strainers. Alright, so I've got that there. And then I put it off to the side. And it's got a little hook on it. So I hook it there. And so there's 3. But I make sure that the tea, when it's completely made, it is very strong. There are times when I take black tea, put it back up in the cupboard. So there's times when I take black tea and I use black tea to make the tea. So we've got this on. It's going to start boiling. Once it boils, and I'll turn it off and let it continue to steep. Now some people wait till it starts to boil to put their tea in. You know, I don't care. It's up to you how you do it. You can also, let me get this. I've also bought the large tea bag. Now this says iced tea, but you can make it, makes regular tea. It's lemon. Usually I wind up with 4 of these if I use these black tea bags. But you can use whatever kind of tea that you desire, and it depends on the flavor you want, how strong you want it. But right now I'm using the Assam tea, and we're going to let it get to boil, and then we'll be back. Okay, so while we're waiting on the tea to brew, I'm going to take some of this kombucha vinegar. Get a spoon. Take some of this kombucha vinegar and put it in a jar. I will get it labeled with, my normal kind of labeling, just writing on a piece of paper and taping it. So I'm going to do that. I'm just going to take it. Oops, my arm. So I'll be using this to cook with, to make some salad dressing with. And after this sits for a while, some of the sediment will, okay, nice and full. So the sediment will go in it. So I'll get my little label, little piece of paper and some tape, and put on here kombucha vinegar. And no, I won't keep it in the refrigerator. If you smelled this, you would know it was vinegar. You taste it, it is vinegar. All right. So that's good. The other thing I do is I'm going to take some pieces of the kombucha, of the Scoby. Now this became very thick. This light part was the very top. And I already showed you, and it's layers, but the layers have combined together. So I'm going to take and use the very bottom layer for this brew. This, I'm going to stick in a plastic bag for now. Now I have Scobies in my freezer for when my friends are asking me, okay, I want to make some kombucha, but I need a Scoby. So I'll take a Scoby out of the freezer. You can take this. But this Scoby is going out into the compost bin. I'm going to chop it up. It'll go in the compost bin. And it will help add some different kind of bacteria to my compost for the yard. But that's what's going to happen with that. Now, when I'm making the new batch of kombucha, I'll put this in. And I'm going to put in about a half a cup of what I'll call the starter of this kombucha vinegar. So it'll give the new tea the necessary nutrients or bacteria to start brewing and creating the kombucha. Okay, the tea is ready. So I'm going to take the strainer out, and it is full because the tea expands, right? And it's nice and dark, the tea is. Now I'm adding 12 ounces of sugar. Actually, I'm going to do 8 first. And you say, sugar, why are you adding sugar? Right, I'm on a diet, or I'm keto, or I don't use sugar. And this is cane sugar. Well, the kombucha, the Scoby, actually, okay, not quite 12. Let's make it 10. It's really sweet. And I'm doing this while it's still hot. Alright. So I'm going to take it off the burner. Move it back off the burner because this is electric and the burner is still hot. You still see that little red light sitting there because it's hot. I'm going to let this cool down because I don't want to put the Scoby and the kombucha starter in it because the heat will kill the bacteria that is part of the SCOBY in the kombucha. So we're going to let this sit for a while, and then we're going to fill up the container. All right, while the tea is cooling, I'm going to get this started. So I've washed this out, scrubbed it out, put some bleach in it, and rinsed it out really well so that the so any bacteria or anything, it's all clean. The only bacteria that I'll have things will be from the kombucha. So I'm taking this particular SCOBY, and you notice it's the shape of the container, all the little squares. I'm going to put that in there, like so. And then I'm going to put about a cup of the previous kombucha. All right. So I've got about a cup in here. And that is going to be the start of the kombucha. Okay, so the tea is now room temperature. We have the beginning with the SCOBY and some of the kombucha vinegar that will help get us started. So I'm going to take this and this is room temperature tea now. Ooh. Yeah, so I'm not filling it all the way up, because what's going to happen is that the SCOBY is going to form a new SCOBY around here, but I don't want it all the way at the top. The other thing, okay, so I'm going to make sure this is dry around the top, because I don't want it wet. Here is a unbleached coffee filter. I'll put that rubber band around it, and then I'm going to take it and put it back on its stand, and it should, with the weather right now, we're in the 70s, sometimes in the 60s. At night it's getting down to the 50s, so this is going to take a couple of weeks. I'm not going to come back. I'm going to end the video right here, but in a couple of weeks I'm going to test this. Well, actually at the end of 7 days, I'm going to pour a little bit out using the spout to test it, to see how sweet it still is, and whether it's at, and most of the time it's very little sweetness, and then I'll decide whether I'm going to flavor it. I like to flavor it with either rosemary or ginger, lemon, mint. So I've got all these different flavors that I can make, or I just have a plain kombucha. Okay, this is the kombucha, and see the new SCOBY, and this is 5 days in. So in another couple days I'll taste it, see if it's ready for bottling up in my bottles, these kind of bottles, with whatever flavoring of my choosing. So if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you are new to this channel, thank you for being here. Please subscribe. For those of you who are a subscriber, thank you for being here. And I'll tell you what, leave me a comment at the bottom and tell me what kind of flavor you'd like you have tried. Whether you've tried it from buying it in the store, or whether you've made kombucha before and you've done it and you've added juice. You know, you can add apple juice, grape juice, pineapple juice. You can flavor it very well. The only difference here is that the kombucha that you make at home, so it's stronger than the kombucha you have in the store. So just be aware of that. You can thin it out by adding more water. You can thin it out by putting an ounce or two of kombucha and mixing it with your juice. You make the decision of how you're going to do this. This is Beverly Fells Jones, the Silver Fox of Consciousness. As you have believed, let it be done to you, and it is so, and I will see you in the next video.